Hi friends, I'm Imran Ali. Today my topic of discussion is essentials of valid contract. As we know that contract in fact constitute the backbone of modern society by setting up trust and reducing risk between the parties. Contracts are not necessarily money related. However, they can likewise identify with the particular exhibition of specific commitments or not to do certain demonstrations. Contracts create legal obligations recognized by law, and a party can make a civil claim or even criminal if fraud is involved against another party for breach of contract. What makes a valid contract? A valid contract is enforceable by law, and if a contract is not valid, it may lead to obstruction of business and unlawful and insincere dealings. But before discussing its details, first we should know what is meant by contract. If we look at the definition of the contract according to section 2H of Contract Act 1872, an agreement enforceable by law is a contract. Whereas according to Anson, a contract is an agreement enforceable at law made between two or more persons by which rights are acquired by one or more to act or forbearance on the part of the other or others. Whereas Sir Fredrick Pollack has defined contract as every agreement and promise enforceable at law is a contract. Whereas definition of valid contract has been given in section 10 of Contract Act 1872, and that is all agreements or contracts if they are made by the free consent of the parties competent to contract for a lawful consideration and with lawful object and are not hereby declared as void. Essentials of a valid contract. A contract that is not a valid contract will have many problems and complications for the parties involved in that contract. For this reason, we must be fully aware of the various essential elements of a valid contract. The essentials of valid contract are: number 1, the agreement; number 2, legal relationship; number 3, free consent; number 4, capacity of parties; number 5, lawful consideration; number 6, lawful object; number 7, certainty; number 8, possibility of performance; number 9, not to be void; and number 10, legal formalities. Number 1, agreement. There must be a lawful proposal or offer by one party and lawful acceptance of that proposal or offer by the other party. A proposal, when accepted, becomes a promise or agreement. Here, the question comes in our mind is what is meant by offer. So, offer is basically a kind of specific proposal by one party to enter into an agreement with another party, which is essential to the formation of an enforceable contract. Number 2, legal relationship. The agreement must create a legal relationship between the parties. Agreement of social or domestic nature doesn't create legal relation and as such cannot give rise to legally enforceable contract. For instance, if a father fails to give his son the promised pocket money, the son cannot sue the father because it is purely a domestic agreement. Number 3, free consent. The agreement must have been made by free consent of the parties. For instance, when they agree upon the something in the same sense. When there is no consent or no real and certain object of consent, there is no contract. Section 14 of the Contract Act defines free consent as like consent is said to be free when it is not caused by coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation, and mistake. So the third essential for the validity of a contract is that Both parties should agree to the something in the same sense, and the consent should be free one. Number 4, capacity to contract. The fourth essential of a valid contract is that the parties must have competency to enter into contract. If an agreement is entered between parties who are competent enough to contract, then the agreement becomes a contract. Like as we read in section 10, that an agreement becomes a contract if it is entered into between the parties who are competent to contract. Number 5, lawful consideration. Something in written is consideration. In every contract, agreement must be supported by consideration. It must be lawful and real. In order to make the agreement, the consideration or object of the agreement must be lawful. In following cases, the consideration or object has been considered to be unlawful. Number 1, if it is forbidden by law. Number 2, if it is of such nature, if permitted, it would defeat the provision of any law. Number 3, if it is fraudulent. Number 4, involves or implies injury to the person or property of another. And number 5, the court regards it as immoral or opposed to the public policy. Number 6, lawful object. The object of the agreement must not be illegal, immoral, or opposed to the public policy. If an agreement suffers from any legal flaw, it would not be enforceable by the law. Number 7, certainty. The terms of the agreement must be certain and not vague or ambiguous. Section 29 of the Contract Act 1872 provides that agreement the meeting of which is not certain or capable of being made certain or void. Number 8, possibility of performance. The terms of the agreement must also be such as are capable of performance. An agreement to do an act impossible in itself cannot be enforced. Number 9, not to be void. The agreement must not have been expressly declared to be void. The following agreements have been declared void. Number 1, common mistake of fact. Number 2, agreements void if consideration or object is unlawful in part. Number 3, agreement without consideration. Number 4, agreement in restraint of marriage. Number 5, agreement in restraint of trade. Number 6, agreement in restraint of legal proceedings. Number 7, agreements void for uncertainty. Number 8, agreements by way of wager. Number 9, agreements contingent on impossible events. And number 10, agreements to do impossible act. Number 10, legal formalities. The agreement may be oral or in writing. Where it is to be in writing, it must comply with all legal formalities and requirements as to writing, registration, and attestation. If the agreement doesn't comply with the necessary legal formalities and requirements, then it cannot be enforced. So that's all for today. Till next video, take care. Allah Hafiz.